Sophia walked through the door that night like nothing had changed, her face glowing with that familiar, polished smile, the same one that once felt like home to me. She moved with the casual grace of someone who had nothing to hide, as if spending the evening in another man's arms was just another line in her schedule. But I didn't meet her with warmth. I didn't smile. I stood still, spine straight, expression cold and unreadable. My voice didn't waver when I spoke. You have 10 minutes to sign the divorce papers and leave my house. She barely had time to process my words before the real twist of the night walked in. Amal, Adrian's wife. The moment her heels clicked against the hardwood floor, the air in the room shifted. Sophia's confident glow flickered like a candle in the wind. She wasn't expecting an audience to her downfall, and she certainly wasn't prepared for Amal. When I first met Sophia, I thought she was my person. She was intelligent, driven, magnetic. She had a fire in her that drew everyone in, including me. We moved fast, blending our lives like puzzle pieces that felt like they'd always belonged together. She worked as a high-powered financial consultant. I ran a luxury hospitality brand. Our schedules were chaotic, but we always found time for each other. Or so I thought. The changes crept in like a slow leak. She stopped making it home for dinner. Nights got later. Her phone started buzzing more than usual. I chalked it up to career pressure, not wanting to be the insecure partner. I trusted her. I gave her space. Then came the night we sat on the couch, half watching a movie. Her phone lit up. She snatched it, silenced the screen, flipped it face down with a nervous chuckle. "Who was that?" I asked, casual but curious. She didn't flinch. "Just a client. He's been a little too persistent." Her answer sounded convincing, but the tension in her shoulders, the way her fingers clung to that phone like a lifeline, it said otherwise. From that moment on, something shifted in me. Doubt found its way in and never left. It wasn't long before the signs began stacking up like damning puzzle pieces. Too many late meetings, too many calls that went unanswered or were brushed off with flimsy explanations. And then, one evening while she was supposedly out with a client, she left her laptop open. No password, no hesitation from fate. I clicked into her email. What I found gutted me. Dozens of messages between her and a man named Adrian. Not harmless banter. These were explicit, intimate exchanges dripping with secrecy. Details of candlelit dinners, expensive wines, boutique hotel rooms with names I recognized. And Adrian, I'd met him at one of her networking events. I remembered the way he looked at her. I remembered the way she laughed just a little too loud at his jokes. It all made sense now, but I didn't confront her right away. Words on a screen weren't enough. I needed proof no one could deny. I hired a private investigator, and within a couple of weeks, I had it all. Time-stamped photos, surveillance footage, credit card receipts, hotel bookings. The betrayal was undeniable. The worst part? Adrian's wife had no clue. Amal. She was completely in the dark. I couldn't let that stand. I packaged everything, the evidence, the truth, and mailed it to her anonymously with a simple note. "You deserve to know. If you want to talk, call me." She did. Her voice on the phone was composed, but I could hear the weight of it all pressing down on her. We met at a quiet little cafe on a rainy Wednesday afternoon. She walked in with grief in her eyes, but steel in her spine. We laid everything out. Her husband, my wife, the months of lies, the fake meetings, the manipulation. Her hands trembled only once when she said, "I'm going to confront him, but I want it to hurt." I nodded slowly. "Then let's do it together. Let's make sure they remember this night for the rest of their lives." She looked at me for a long moment, and then the corners of her lips curled into a faint, wicked smile. "I like your style. We planned everything with precision. Sophia had already told me she'd be working late on a Saturday. I knew where she'd be. Amal, and I reserved a table at the same upscale restaurant she and Adrian had picked for their evening rendezvous. We arrived early, tucked ourselves into a shadowed corner booth, and waited. Soon enough, they arrived, holding hands, laughing like they were the only two people in the world, dressed to impress, their arrogance almost theatrical. I felt my fists clench, but I stayed calm. Amal reached for my hand under the table, her grip firm. We waited until their entrees arrived. Then we stood and walked slowly toward their table. The moment they saw us, the color drained from their faces. Adrian froze mid-bite. Sophia's fork clattered onto her plate. "Enjoying your evening?" I asked flatly, looking directly at Sophia. "You forgot to mention you'd be dining with Adrian tonight." Amal turned to Adrian, voice razor-sharp. "You seem to have had a very full schedule, darling." Sophia's lips parted, eyes wide with panic. "Jacob, please, I can explain. You'll have time to think about it." I cut her off, placing a folder on the table. "These are divorce papers. You have 10 minutes to sign. After that, your key won't work anymore. Divorce." Her voice cracked. "You're overreacting." I laughed, bitter and short. "What's truly ridiculous is you thinking you could keep this hidden forever, that I wouldn't find out, that you could tear apart a marriage and walk away untouched." Adrian tried to stand, but Amal calmly pressed a hand to his chest. "Sit down. We're not finished." She slid a second folder across the table. "This is for your company. You've been using corporate funds to spoil your mistress. Let's see how the board feels about that." Adrian paled instantly. "You wouldn't dare." "I already did." Amal's voice was pure ice. Sophia walked out that night with nothing but her purse. By the next morning, the locks were changed. Her things were delivered to her parents' home. She tried calling, texting, even showed up at my office. But I never answered, not once. The divorce went through faster than she expected. She walked away with barely a fraction of what she thought she'd get. Adrian's fall was even steeper. Amal kept her promise. She sent the evidence to his company. He was fired. The scandal went public. Amal divorced him. 2. Last I heard, he was living in a cramped one-bedroom apartment, far from the luxury he once flaunted. As for Amal and me, well, we kept in touch. It started with shared pain, long phone calls, and check-ins. But over time, something real grew between us. Respect, trust, quiet strength. Betrayal leaves deep scars, but sometimes from those wounds, a different kind of bond is born. One rooted not in bitterness, but in truth. Because the real power isn't just exposing a lie. It's making sure they never forget what they did. And in the end, justice isn't always loud. Sometimes, it's walking away with your head high, knowing they lost someone who never would have betrayed them.